Opinions expressed by the hosts and guests of the Side Project Live are not necessarily those of LRN.FM, Tuiville, the Illinois Libertarian Party, and a bunch of other people.
We'd like to invite you and all the members of your household
to gather around and join us now
for a very special episode of
Side Project Live. And what's so special about it?
I'm not wearing any pants.
always there with the sound effects there. Hey everybody, welcome once again to another action packed side-splitting life a minute episode of the Side Project Live. Speaking in a over-exaggerated Chicago accent, this is Jimmy G.
And freezing to death here in the basement. Luckily, I had the clothes dryer going for a while, and that helps warm it up down here. It's Eric Ferguson from Lockport, Illinois.
Man, it was weird when I came by your place to pick something up. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. How you had you were telling me about your all of your radio wires that you got all over the place, and how you were talking about how the ice and the snow from the snowstorm we had that weekend was like causing you some serious problems there.
Yeah, they were fun. Yeah, I've got an antenna farm up above the house here. So.
We got a large I don't know if we still use it, but we got a large tower out in our backyard. It's like maybe 3.5 stories tall for the antenna from the over-the-air TV, and you could easily put some sort of a good antenna on that. I've always toyed with the idea of doing like a low power, radio station for the area. Screw the FCC. But although if you do it a certain way, I mean they can't get you.
Yeah, well,
they'll find a reason to, but they technically can't.
If you want to, I can help you with that. I may or may not have operated a transmitter without a license.
Yeah. Can you be a little more cryptic, please? Hey, and joining us also is Lek. Hey, Lek.
Hey, what's up?
Not a whole lot. Just so everybody knows, you can email us at thesideproject2@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @thesideproject2, and we will have that open during the show, which reminds me, I don't have it open right now. If you want to post to us, our hashtag is TSPLive. So we've mentioned before there's a female country band that's called the Sugar Pies that use the same hashtag, but we had it first. And our Google Voice line at 815-200-4912. If you got any questions or whatever, you can leave us a voicemail. We'll get to them. And we have the Google Q&A thing open here, so make use of that. And I'd like to special shout out to anybody who came over here from the No Quarter podcast. That's a classic arcade video game show, and we're not anything about video games, but there you go. So there we are. And apologize for last week's show. I've deleted that. That was not nice. But we got all the technical stuff taken care of, and there you go. So
too bad because the content was very good last week.
Yeah, it was a good show. We're gonna have to revisit that topic. For people who haven't been following, up until today, between today and last December 2nd, as he belches under his breath, I had surgery on December 2nd for my foot, and the big studio, i.e. my bedroom, is on the second floor of the house here, and because I had surgery on my foot, I wasn't able to go upstairs at all. So I had my laptop down there, and it was really a bit of a pain in the butt trying to get all this stuff going with one machine, and so we've had some problems with the output on a couple of the shows. But today I am upstairs on my. You could probably tell that I have a much cleaner camera, and so we're up here now, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Right on.
So for those.
By the way,
go ahead.
Does Wheelbarrow Full of Dicks still listen to us?
I think it's too early in the morning for them.
Oh, yeah.
I think they either party too hard at night, or they are somehow, for some reason, go to the emergency room. Just throwing it out there. No ideas whatsoever. But big announcement. In 2 weeks, I'm not going to reveal who it is yet, but we are going to have probably the biggest guest this show has ever had in its history in 2 weeks. I'm not going to say much, but it looks like it's pretty much 95% confirmed. He's just got to double check, make sure his schedule is okay, but it looks like it is. But I'll give you a hint. Push the button. That's all I'm going to say. So
Reagan?
what? No. No. We'd have to get John Edward here for that, and last I heard he was full of BS. So anyway, we have a special guest today, and oh gosh, you told me how to pronounce your last name. It's in the email, and I've already forgotten it. Carla Gericke. Gericke. Oh God. And we've gone over this 4 or 5 times before the show, and I can't remember. I mean, as I like to say, my mind is like a steel trap. What goes in comes out mangled. So
you lame brains can't do anything right, can you?
There you go. So welcome aboard, Carla.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You don't have to lie. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, and I don't know if you got any good cookie recipes.
Yeah, I'm not a baker, thanks. I represent the Free State Project, which is a movement to try and attract 20,000 people to the state of New Hampshire. And we are about 2/3, so I guess 80% of the way there, and 20,000 people will sign up. It's just a question of when, and then hopefully move to New Hampshire so that we can achieve liberty in our lifetime.
And it should be noted that both Lek and myself are actual signatories. We signed. How long ago did you sign up, Lek?
That was back in 2003.
That's probably about the time that I signed. You know,
I was one of the first 5,000.
What's that?
I was one of the first 5,000.
I might have been too. Sadly, things happen, and sometimes the money is there, and sometimes you just can't do it because the people around you are like, so you gotta respect other people's wishes and stuff. And some things have happened recently that make it more likely that if I do move, I'm probably gonna have to move out west. Mainly because my mom lives out west and all that, but I'm still open to moving, and I still think it's a great idea. But sometimes, as I say, life gets in the way,
Yeah, and certainly, I signed up as well around 2003 and came to New Hampshire in 2008, sort of with the first 1,000 movers issue. For me, the signer number, the 20,000 number, is just, that was what Jason Sarens, the founder, came up with, and I've asked him, like, where'd you come up with that number, and it was kind of a thumbsuck. Based on, we have about 1,700 people who've moved already, which is only 10% of the number of signers. And even with that relatively small number, we're seeing a lot of successes. I mean, we have about, I think, almost 20 Free Staters are elected this time, for people who are into electoral process. We have the Keeniacs out in Keene doing, more civ dis kind of stuff. And so, I don't anticipate personally that, all 20,000 are going to move, but I hope more people will move, and certainly the ones who have moved are already making changes. So it's pretty exciting.
I do recall that when I signed up, and I think the same goes with Lek, that we were actually able to vote where we wanted the Free State Project to go to. I believe we both suggested Wyoming, right, Lek? Or what did you suggest?
My top 2 choices were Wyoming because it's 50th in population, and then because of Delaware because of how small it is, which would make it easier to centrally organize. But yeah, New Hampshire, I think New Hampshire is my 3rd or 4th pick.
Yeah, it wasn't my first pick, mainly because I'm in love with Wyoming. It's absolutely beautiful there. I have been through New Hampshire in my life, but I was like 7 or 8, so I don't really remember much about it. And we only pretty much blitzed across the northern part of the state to go into Maine, and so we didn't really get to see any of the stuff there. But I've always wanted to go up through that interstate, up through the middle there, through there's a place there called the Flume, and it was like by where the old man of the mountain used to be and all of that. And,
I know, his face fell off. Poor guy.
Yeah, that was a few years ago, and the irony was is that they had just had the New Hampshire State Quarter come out the year before with the picture of the old man of the mountain, and then the next year it collapsed.
Yeah, actually, I was just looking up something about General Stark, and I try to avoid government websites when I can, but stumbled upon a .gov something, and they still had the emblem up, and they still had the man on the mountain, and I was like, look, it's been almost a decade. I think it's time to move on, folks.
Yeah, you know what? I absolutely love. You're talking about like the stuff the state have, like the promotional stuff, and I really love the like the signs when you go into different states. And the one time we went into Delaware, I was on my honeymoon, and this was before I was libertarianly oriented, if that is such a word. And the sign when you go into Delaware says "Home of Tax-Free Shopping." we were like, no, that can't be true. And we were in Dover. We pulled up in a Wendy's, and we bought a 99-cent Frosty. Me and my wife. 99 cents each. They charged us $1.98, and we were like, whoa. They must be taking a lot of money from the people in Maryland and Pennsylvania and New Jersey around them, man. But I've always had the suggestion with the like the welcome to signs here in Illinois. Illinois, land of Lincoln welcomes you. 3 years in prison. Beat that.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, I mean, obviously, New Hampshire has no sales tax, so that doesn't surprise me. You go to the dollar store and it's $1, and but the road, the signs. That's something I actually noticed too, because when you travel into New Hampshire, it just says, welcome to New Hampshire, common sense for all, or something, because we don't have adult seatbelt laws and that kind of stuff. But if you go over the border into Mass, it's like, welcome to the police state. There are like 12 signs as you get over the border, and they're just all yelling at you and telling you what to do.
I remember a few years back there was a story about one of the Free Staters. I can't remember who it was. It was Jason. Oh, and I've worked with this guy too. Was it Jason Talley and Adamo Freeman? We're like we're recording some police in Massachusetts. I think it was Grafton. No, not Grafton. What the heck is the town? I don't remember, but they were coming over because they were there for a trial or a trial or something for someone they knew, and they got arrested for recording the police. And it just so happened that this was the town that Penn Jillette was born in. It was his hometown, and then Penn Jillette made a big deal out of it. And I don't remember exactly what happened, but I think everything turned out okay on that. But I'm probably wrong on that. But
no, I think it was Ademo, not Jason.
Okay.
It was Ademo and Pete Eyre.
That's it. It was Ademo and Pete. That's right.
And of course, I also was arrested and charged with wiretapping right here in sweet old New Hampshire. But I took them all the way to the appeals court and won, and made them pay me $60,000. So
what's sad is here in Illinois, where I'm from, the up until about a year ago, if you were caught recording the police in Illinois, you could get a tougher prison sentence than if you had committed a rape.
Wow.
Here in Illinois, the Supreme Court of Illinois struck it down, but then they reintroduced this law back in November, I think it was, and now they say that there's has to be a reasonable expectation of privacy, determine whether you can record or not. And of course, they leave it intentionally vague. So basically, they just reintroduced the same law, but I'm expecting that to get challenged. But there was a case in Chicago here over the last year where a woman was getting sexually harassed by the police, and she went into the police station with her camera running, and to get to kind of put the feet to the fire of the police department, and they arrested her for wiretapping.
I mean, they use it as a bullying tactic. I think this is something that will eventually shake out, where they're going to stop doing it because it's going to become too expensive. And I highly encourage people to always record everything. And it's awesome if they arrest you because you're going to make some money. So, get out there and do it.
Well, the only problem is here in Illinois, we don't have any money to give.
Yeah. Well, and frankly, I mean, it is a horrible situation in the sense that the town where my case happened, I have several Free Staters live there, and they're all kind of miffed because, of course, their taxes are going to go up because that police department is particularly bad, and amongst other things, which is not typical of New Hampshire. Usually, like, the small town cops are actually pretty cool. But there was, they shot an unarmed alleged small-time heroin dealer and killed him last year. So I think like they're, they had probably about $500,000 on the books last year that they had to settle. So their insurance premiums have gone up because, of course, the insurance company pays. And that's one of the problems. We really should be looking at these issues and figure out a way where the accountability goes to the person who is acting immorally. So, I tried in the end, it didn't work tactically, but I named all the police officers in their personal capacity as well. And I was like, look, if I can, I'm going to try and take your house.
I think that's kind of something important there to bring up, because when you sue the police department, if the police department screws up and you sue them and you win, you're basically taking more money from innocent people that had nothing to do with the situation.
Yeah.
But there's also
and the sad thing is the police departments have this cover, and I think it's in some places where you can't actually sue the officer in a civil case, which is bullcrap. If you could sue the officer, there would be a lot less. That would be a lot more moral, I would think. But the way it is, the way the system is written right now, I mean, it is what it is. It's not the best system, but it's the only kind of recourse, and even then, you're not guaranteed of getting any justice.
Well, yeah, and the theory behind it, right, or the name for it is qualified immunity. So basically the way it works is, the state says to us, ignorance of the law is no excuse, except if you're the enforcer of the law, and then it's an absolute defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how many millions of laws are on the book?
I know it's ridiculous, right?
The thing that gets me is that a lot of these laws are even redundant, though. I mean, we had to go to the state fair last year because my kids are in 4-H, and they had some projects that were selected to go to to represent our county at the state level, and we went to the state police department. They had like a booth there, maps and the whole 9 yards, and we had just passed a law making it illegal to text while driving, and I'm asking them, isn't there a law in the books against distracted driving? And they said, yeah. And I'm like, then why did we pass a no texting law if it's already illegal?
Yeah, and certainly someone like you, I mean, I think it's more dangerous to have little kids in the car than it is to text.
Mm-hmm.
Or, changing the radio, or all these things that we're already
started.
used to.
It's like you go on long trips. Stop it! Stop it! Miss yourself. It's personal space.
Yeah. Like distracted driving law, right? You can't do things in the car that distract you. Yet every 7 feet along the roadway is some signage designed to distract you.
Mm-hmm. And let's not forget that when the police are driving around, that they've got their laptops and their electronics, and usually holding coffee and a donut, and I mean, it's stereotype, but one time I was working midnight shift at a 7-Eleven. Some armed robbers came in and beat me pretty good. Took all the money that was in the register. I only got $20, and cop came in for his nightly midnight donut run. I mean,
Wow.
but I mean, there's a lot of things there. So what kind of things have you seen recently in New Hampshire happen for the positive as a result of the Free State Project?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously there is the political side. So there's people are in session right now, so that's been pretty fun. I mean, we've gone up, and one of the things that's kind of cool about what is happening in New Hampshire, I've been here now for almost 8 years, and when I moved here, I thought, oh, maybe it's kind of lip service, maybe like the locals aren't really that like pro-freedom, but over time I've actually discovered they really are. Like, I think at the heart of it, a lot of people here, you know, just the day-to-day normal people, your neighbors and stuff, have a sense of live and let live and live free or die. And so with the 20 or so Free Staters who've been elected, there's also kind of a caucus of up to, I think it's 140, mostly Republicans, who are all pro-liberty candidates. So we're hoping that we'll see some really interesting stuff come out of the State House this time. In the past couple of weeks, I mean, I've been up there to testify on a demilitarization bill. So basically there was a local guy who introduced a bill to say, hey, you know what? We don't think the police in New Hampshire should have any equipment that's not available on the open market. So if you can't buy it commercially, you don't get your Bearcat. You know, so doesn't look like it's got legs, but you know, I think even just bringing these issues up to talk about them, I got approached for the first time, and I think this is a really good sign from the big university here, UNH, and they're going to be doing a panel discussion on the militarization of law enforcement, and they asked me to be on the panel with them. You know, there's going to be the police chief from Dover and this guy who wrote the bill, but you know, that would not have happened even a couple of years ago. So, you know, part of that is because we had the whole Bearcat situation in Keene and then in Concord, and they just got one up in the north as well. Sorry, my dog is contributing to the conversation here. And then, you know, other pro-liberty things. I mean, there's a really big Bitcoin community here. So on Thursday we were out there to go testify, and the people did a really great job on, you know, basically trying to not force, what would be the polite word, trying to get the state to accept Bitcoin for payments of taxes and fees. And so the thinking behind that is to make the state government an early adopter, and then that would make New Hampshire a very attractive place for Bitcoin companies to come to. And obviously there's a lot of investment money going on in Silicon Valley, and I wouldn't mind if we got a piece of that pie. So, so you know, there are those kinds of things. We of course have a Liberty Forum coming up in a couple of weeks, and that is will be in downtown Manchester this year. And we have, you know, Ben Swan's going to be out here, Jeff Tucker, we've got Scott Horton from antiwar.com, Patrick Byrne, who's the CEO of Overstock.com. You know, they were the first retailer ever to take Bitcoin, and the day they started accepting Bitcoin, New Hampshire actually had the largest per capita spending of Bitcoin with Overstock. So, you know, if people are curious or they're sort of interested in what is what the Free State Project is about. Sorry about that, guys. I could go on mute and one of you could talk.
Something out there. You were talking about Bitcoin. We had a couple of episodes talking about Bitcoin with a professor from the University of Illinois, Dr. Terry Newell. Those are episodes 142 and 135 for those who'd like to go back and listen to those episodes. He pretty much, he himself doesn't own Bitcoin yet, but he was there to answer a bunch of questions, and we got a better feel for the whole situation, because quite frankly I've been skeptical about the whole thing, but those are there. And and I found out by chance that there's a pizza joint here in my town of Morris. I don't know if it's the whole chain, but Rosati's Pizza in Morris. If supposedly if you order online, you can order using Bitcoin. So I haven't checked out their website yet to see if that's still true, if they forgot to delete it off of their little thingy in the store. But you know, there's that. One of these days I'm going to buy some. I should have gotten on the bandwagon back when it was $10 a Bitcoin. Now it's like what, 200 or something?
Yeah, I think it's like 240 maybe. It has had some volatility. I was pretty lucky. I mean, I don't have a lot, but I got in at $6, and that was because I went to Liberty Forum, and you know, there were lots of people there who are really into it. The guys who developed the world's first Bitcoin ATM, Lama Su, they're movers who came here from Israel, two brothers, really awesome guys, and you know, they, you know, because some people are skeptical, and I tend to be a skeptical person in general. And they were, you know, I was the second person to use their Bitcoin ATM at a conference down in D.C. a couple of years ago. It was probably ISFL, which is going on right now, and I was like, wait a second, so there's this box, and then I put my FRNs in it, and then you give me this code on my phone, and I was like, this is genius. You guys made a box that people put money in.
I remember there was a, what was it? It was on the old Benny Hill show. There was a, Benny Hill walks up to his box, and it says, insert $1, and he's like, and there's nothing else on the machine. He puts $1 in. The sign lights up that says "Thank you."
Yeah, that's all it does.
But it's interesting to note, because you were saying about some of the things that are going on there with the anti-militarization. Yeah, you can't have light beer. No, anti-militarization bill that's being passed there or being introduced there. And I'm seeing here in Illinois there being some sort of movements toward liberty too. I mean, they're not going to get anywhere near as far, but they just in the last month or so introduced a bill in the Illinois State House to outlaw red light cameras. Of course, there's only one politician from. It was introduced by Republicans too. There was only one politician from the city of Chicago that, of course, supported it, and of course, being from Chicago, a Democrat and all that. But I mean, there's some movement going on. But I mean, we still have the problem where the people still see the whole libertarian philosophy. Well, this is another topic we've talked about on the show, as they see it as selfish. Because, oh, you want your right to carry a gun, you want your right to blah blah blah, and I'm like,
you just want to get high. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. The fact of the matter is that we want those rights for everybody. We just don't want them for ourselves. We want them for everybody, because we think that it's the more moral, the more sensible, you know, way to go. And I look at it this way: I'm not 100%. I don't consider myself 100% libertarian. I know I don't believe that I have some doubts about, you know, the libertarian philosophy, but I do know this. What we have now isn't working. So what do we have to lose? I mean, worst case, it's always harder to dissolve laws, to dissolve policies, than it is to reenact them. So, I mean, if something we're doing doesn't work, well, you can always pass a law, or always do that. I mean, it's always easier to put more regulation and law in place than it is to get rid of it. So let's get rid of it, experiment with it, and go from there.
Indy? Did we lose everybody?
Oh, are you there? Oh, might have lost her.
Uh-oh.
No, there she is. Oh, no, there she isn't. Can you hear us, Carla?
Or,
Are you there, Leck?
and yeah, and you know, sorry we lost Carla, though she was such a vast wealth of information.
We'll try to get her back. I mean, I think she just froze real quick.
Yeah. Internet.
And it was going so well, too. We were having no technical problems for once.
Well, that one's the internet. That's not our fault.
Yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna
It's
see
an
if I can.
interesting thing. It's very the Atlas Shrugged. Let's all move to Atlantis, sort of thing. But I think it's an interesting concept that it actually exists, that people are trying, that they're seeking out. Well, it's less government here, it's more free. Let's move there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's an interesting idea. I know, like Leck, you were talking about, and I've seen a lot of this debate back and forth as to where's the best place to go, and I see sometimes even heated debate. No, not New Hampshire, Wyoming, and there's back and forth about where to go, which one's more free, and it becomes a squirrely thing because how do you define the liberty? This is the most free state. Well, define that. What does that mean to you? And I think that's where it becomes, difficult. Like, Jim, you mentioned it, and Carla talked about it as well in New Hampshire. No sales tax. That might not be a good thing. If you're going to collect taxes on income, is perhaps the worst mechanism to do that on. If you're going to use sales tax instead of income tax, bring it on. So, it's an awkward thing. Fewest government employees per capita. Well, that doesn't really matter if they make a lot of money compared to somewhere else, and they have this ridiculous pension system like in Illinois, and so it's a very difficult thing to measure. Most free. What's most important to you? I want to be able to smoke in a pub if the owner permits it. That's important to me. It might seem minuscule to somebody else.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh. Yeah, well, Eric, you make a good point. I think people need to look beyond the surface, certainly. And in fact, I remember right after New Hampshire was chosen, there was what was called a Western Free State Project, which was for people who who believed in the Free State Project but did not want to move to New Hampshire, so they were going to choose a Western state.
I think that's still a going thing, and they chose Wyoming. I can't remember the name of the guy who founded it, but I think they are still a going thing.
My only problem with Wyoming, and it's beautiful. I love Wyoming. I've been through it. It's fantastic. I wouldn't mind living in a suburb of Cheyenne, so I can avoid those city laws that they have there. I think it's great. But average temperature 10 degrees colder than here. Nah, New Mexico.
Well, at least New Mexico had Gary Johnson.
Yes. Governor Vito. Yeah, so obviously they are more open to liberty-minded candidates, and with that precedent, and then of course we had Russell Means from New Mexico as well, who before his death, did a lot of things that are pro-liberty, and well, one thing I wanted to say though in regard to what Cindy said at the beginning of the episode, that they have 1,700 people in New Hampshire now. Even if they don't get the 20,000 up there, the people who do move there for the Free State Project are going to be not just the type of people who would vote Libertarian, but the type of people who are going to be, act on their neighbors, influencing people. So if they even get, say, 5,000, rather than 20,000, those 5,000 can make a very big impact in a state that small.
And I noticed a couple of things. First of all, she had mentioned that the anti-militarization bill introduced by Republicans, and I have this, and it seems to me the Republicans are actually probably closer to our allies than the Democrats are on most issues. I think it's easier to convert a Republican than a Democrat, progressive, liberal, whatever you want to call them. And it occurred to me, and I had this thought a while back, that that I'm wondering if something like the Free State Project could succeed on a smaller scale. Like here in Illinois, pretty much everything's controlled by Chicago, but we have plenty of counties with the smaller populations, and wondering if perhaps maybe we could. It seems to me the whole thing with the Free State Project, their main thing is that to get a stronger showing in Congress, that sort of thing. But it seems I'm kind of curious if maybe we could do something like that here in Illinois. Say like get a bunch of people to move to say Putnam County, which I think is the smallest county in Illinois, therefore probably easier to have more an influence on. If maybe we could get some people in the Illinois State House to affect the way that the state is going. Obviously, with a city the size of Chicago in Illinois, it'd probably take a little more doing. You'd probably need another county other than Putnam, which, by the way, here's something interesting about Putnam County. There's two interstates in Putnam County. Well, actually, no, there's one interstate in Putnam County. It's Interstate 180. It was built with taxpayer funding to service a steel plant. To service a steel plant that was a government contractor. And the year before the interstate opened, the steel plant went bankrupt, and it is the least traveled 3-digit interstate in the country. Actually, I think it's the least traveled interstate in the country, period. And how much money are we wasting in Illinois because of that? But we got Carla back. Yeah, there we go.
Hi. Sorry about that, guys.
Not a problem. It happens.
It happens.
Ain't nothing but a thing.
Yep.
So we were just talking there a little bit how we thought that it's probably easier to get Republicans on our side than it is Democrats, and of course you've heard me just opining a moment ago probably about perhaps maybe Free State Project for those who can't get to New Hampshire, maybe starting something on a smaller scale in their own state to affect their state, not necessarily on the national level at that point. For whatever that's worth. I think
it's not the county I live in, I'll tell you that.
Oh, God. No, definitely not, but it's certainly not going to be Will County. I'm almost wondering, I'm almost thinking if you're going to start another Free State Project, probably the best place to do it would be Detroit. And we lost Carla again. Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah.
I think it would be the best place to start up, to try another Free State Project.
No, I think that's a great idea, Jim, and I've always really hoped from the start that Detroit will not get a bailout, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Omni consumer products to the rescue.
But Jim,
RoboCop.
to back up a little, to back up a little bit, Jim, are you, for what you're talking about in Illinois, are you thinking about something sort of like a free county project?
Well, something like that to more influence the state. Of course, if you're going to do that, you pretty much have to do a district and not a county, though, because here in Illinois, I mean, everything is so screwed up. We've got the worst gerrymandering, I think, out of any of the states. There's this one congressional district in the city of Chicago where there's like this big blob, like right in the city, and then there's a big blob like about 20 miles north, and the district runs along the interstate with no houses, and the whole thing is shaped like a C with like two big blobs at either end of it, so that they can get a mostly Democrat district, and this whole state is a lot like that. But we got you back, Carla.
So when I dropped off, I hope you guys can hear me. I heard someone saying something about we should start another Free State Project somewhere.
No, we were talking about
I hear that a lot.
What I was saying, Carla, was that right after New Hampshire was chosen about 11 or 12 years ago, somebody to participate in the Free State Project, but didn't want to move to New Hampshire to pick another state out west.
Yes, that's actually Boston Tea's thing out in Wyoming.
That's who it
I
was.
think they have about, but, you know, I do want to address one thing, because obviously this is something I hear a fair amount of, and I think the most important thing that people need to understand is basically what we have right now from a liberty perspective is, you know, a bunch of liberty people dispersed across the country, and the idea behind the Free State Project and the reason why it is, I think, succeeding is because we have to concentrate the people together in order to actually affect change.
Without a doubt. I mean, as they say, there's There's what do they call it? There's safety in numbers, I guess, is the big thing, but as we're saying, I mean, there are reasons why people can't get out there, and then just there are legitimate reasons, and we were opining that maybe something on a smaller scale could work for people that can't really move that far, and I was bringing up the fact, or not the fact, but the opinion that if there was to be yet another type of free state project movement, I think Detroit would be the place to go. Try to free the city. I mean, how much wasted property do they have there? And I mean, most of that city is exactly like the movie RoboCop predicted.
Yeah, I watched an interesting documentary about Detroit a couple of months ago, and it was interesting to see lots of artists are moving down there. People are basically squatting. Other people are, starting to buy properties again because they can get them for so much cheaper. I know Karen DeCoster, she writes sometimes for LouRockwell.com, and she's out there, and she's written a little bit about sort of a liberty flavor there. It'll be interesting to see. The size of Detroit is almost, I mean, I know it's depopulated now, so it's probably, 500,000 now. The entire state of New Hampshire's population is 1.2 million. That was, of course, another reason to choose to come here, And here we have an aging population, so one of the exciting things, I think, for the Free State Project and for people who can move, and obviously not everyone can, and I think there's simpatico with other movements, and it's, we all believe in liberty and we want to spread these ideas. I just also actually want to see it in my lifetime, so
right. Mm-hmm.
For me that's the exciting part. But, if we can create a beacon of liberty here, so that we can show people, hey, these policies, these ideas, these principles actually work. They lead to more peace. They lead to more prosperity. Then, everyone who can't make it here can point to the beacon of liberty and
True.
say, we know it works, and, so let's try it here. And,
or if they don't.
I think
if they don't, it appeases the naysayers. They go, those policies don't work. Well, what if it doesn't work?
Mm-hmm.
At least now I know.
As I said before, it's easier to take all of the laws, it's easier to create laws than it is to take them away. If we take away the laws and regulations and it doesn't work, well, pass some legislation. It's just that. It's easy. Everybody's got an idea for a law, and
that's really where the tragedy has come from. That's why we have so many laws now, is everyone has some personal story, and then they're like, we need to fix this with the law, and it's like, no, we don't.
Mm-hmm. As Penn Jillette once said, he's like, all you need to know is in the First Amendment to the Constitution, it says, the government shall make no law, the very first phrase.
Leave it at that.
What do you need?
Yeah, period.
Leave it at that.
He's brilliant, man. That's why I want to get him on this podcast, because he's just brilliant, and he even admits that he doesn't know, if it's going to work. All he knows is that, or what was the famous quote from him? The main reason I'm libertarian is because I don't know what's best for you.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
That's the gist of it. That's the gist of it. It's not selfishness. It's that we don't know how to control others, and quite frankly, most of us don't want to.
Well, you're right, Carla. That's the thing. We need more people to say no. Well, there ought to be a law. No, there ought not. Right. We have too many legislators, all city level up to state and federal. They just they pass these laws for feel good. I did more for children in your city than anybody else will remember me on election day, even though they didn't really do anything. And I have these laws now. I can't leave my trash cans out at the curb any later than on trash day, and you can't drink a beer on your own front step, but at the public beer ground out at the something or other fest, then it's perfectly acceptable. You can't build a meth lab next to a school, really, because meth dealers don't have a car. It's just...
Well, and then there was a famous situation in Atlanta where they required that people that are registered sex offenders can't live within like 1,000 feet of a church or a school, and it come to find out the only place in the entire city of Atlanta was behind this one office building. and they were pretty much all congregated there because they can't live anywhere else. And the sex offender thing is a bunch of BS anyway, because you can get on the. I don't know how it is other places, but here in Illinois you can get on it if you urinate in public, if you breastfeed. The street we were living on, according to the registry, we were like 3 doors down from a registered sex offender, and you know what their crime was? He was 18 and he had sex with a 16-year-old girlfriend.
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah. You know what? I could, if I had met my wife when I was 20, and I had sex with her, I would be in jail because she would have been 13. You know, but here we are, 6-7 year difference.
Yeah.
And
soliciting prostitution. Now you're a sex offender.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, you know, there's a whole other question there of whether that should be illegal. But I mean, the laws don't make sense, and they're just feel good. And the flip side to that is that the way that laws work is you can add crap to something that is ostensibly possibly a good law. Say like there's a law stating, you know, puppies and kitties for everyone. You could add a congressional pay raise to it, vote against the pay raise, and then your opponent can come out, well, you're against kitties and puppies. Really, come on, people. I'm only against kitties. But, you know, I mean, it just makes no sense. So, did we lose you again, Carla?
I think nope. I think I'm
There's-
back.
okay. So,
It's definitely a little spotty here.
yeah. Sadly, that's an ongoing situation. So what's so we're getting close on time here, but so what's how's it going out there so far these days? I mean, what anything interesting coming up with the Free State Project? I know you guys have Pork Fest every year. And then,
Sure, and I was just going to say, you know, we have Liberty Forum coming up March 5th through the 8th in downtown Manchester. It's the first time we're doing it in the big city of 120,000 people. And we have some great speakers. We're also trying to showcase more of the community itself. I mean, we really do have some movers and shakers here, people who have sort of established themselves as real libertarian thinkers and activists. And then we, of course, be June 21st through the 28th. In case anyone is familiar with the Porcupine Freedom Festival, it's a camping extravaganza up in the mountains of the White Mountains of New Hampshire. It's a week long, and it really is a very, very unique experience. You know, one of the things that I love is when people come, especially maybe naysayers or people who are like, oh yeah, those kids up in, you know, New Hampshire, and then they come out and then they experience the community we're building and really, you know, what it is that we're doing here, and they are just generally blown away. And one of those people was Nick Gillespie from Reason Magazine, and he's come back. You know, he's coming back for Liberty Forum. He'd probably come back for Pork Fest. And so people should definitely pencil that in and plan to come. We'll start selling the tickets right after Liberty Forum. And, yeah, that's pretty much my spiel.
But, yeah, one of the things that we've always wanted to do with this show, we've just never gotten a chance to do it. I mean, for either time, you know, can't get the time off of work, or we don't have the money, mostly the money, but the time is a big thing. Is we've always wanted to get up to get up to Pork Fest and do our show from there. Yeah, I don't know how the internet is up there, so it might have to be pre-recorded, but still, I mean, that's something we've always wanted to do. We just, you know, haven't had the opportunity to do it. And
I mean, that would be wonderful. You know, I think you guys are on LRN, so FTL Free Talk Live actually does their show for the entire week from up there. Ernie Hancock from Arizona comes up with Freedom Phoenix, Declare Your Independence, and so I'm sure we could find room for you. You know, I mean, I think it's old school. We're still doing it through a phone line. Internet is a little spotty up there, but that's actually one of the charms. And yeah, we'd love to have you guys and definitely, you know, help us spread the word. I think for a lot of people who are curious, one, about these ideas, and two, about the Free State Project, it really is a sort of come see, come meet the community, come meet the people. And certainly for me, I think my first Pork Fest was probably 2005, maybe 6. Went to Pork Fest, had an interesting experience. The community was much smaller then. I'm a city girl. I came from New York, and there were, all these old guys with beards and guns, and I was like, what the hell? I don't know about this. And then we, went to Liberty Forum, and that was sort of a bit more my jam. It was people in suits, and I could relate more. But, it's great to have those two things. And actually, I organized Pork Fest in 2009 and 10 and really tried to sort of change the flavor and make it more, like a festival, carnival, cookouts, parties, raves, dances, family stuff, shooting, all of that stuff gets done. But it's truly unique, because it really is a big tent. It really is putting, a bunch of different people together who actually, everything from the Christian right to the anarchists. We had some nudists last year, and it's like, okay, how do you work all of this together? Because really the only thing that keeps everyone together is the principle that, in Penn's words, is you gotta respect the rights of others if you want those rights for yourself.
Yeah. The only thing is that from some of the stories I've heard about what goes on at Pork Fest, I'd probably want to go up there by myself before I drag my wife and my kids. My wife isn't so much on the Liberty bandwagon, although she has voted for Gary Johnson, okay. And my kids. I want to kind of, get feelers out there first, because everybody's got their own way that they're raising their kids. And once again, I mean, I don't know what's best for you for raising your kids. I mean, I think there are some general, blanket things that, you need to adhere to. But for the most part, you got to put food in their mouth. But for the most part, I mean, everybody's got their different ways, and I'm sure that that kind of an opinion would be respected at Pork Fest, which is another really cool thing about not just the Free State Project, but libertarianism in general.
Yeah, and honestly, the media likes to play up the buck in all sort of aspects. We had The Economist came out, and the New York Times and New York Magazine were all there last year, and they focused so narrowly on the wafting smell of pot smoke, and I'm like, okay, come on, if you go to any music festival anywhere in the country, whether it's libertarian,
oh, excuse me for a second. Grateful Dead. Oh, excuse me.
Jay Giles band. Jay Giles band.
Grateful Dead. I'm sure there are even pot smokers at Phil Collins concerts.
Driving and crying.
And so honestly, I think it is family friendly enough, but I think it's good for people if they're concerned about that. Let dad go be the pioneer, you come check it out, and then depending on where it fits on your scale, bring the wife and kids, because for movers, you got to get the buy-in from the old ball and chain.
Now, is it still at? Last I heard, it was at Rogers Campground upstate New Hampshire. Is it still there, or has it moved?
No, it's still at Rogers, and it had actually moved, and I moved it back to Rogers. Okay. And the owner there, certainly when we started working with him, was more a hawkish sort of neocon, pro-war, pro-defense, and over the years, even he's changed his views. So really, I think for most people who are doing this as activists, as radio hosts, as people who speak out about these issues, we just have to keep spreading them, because once the penny drops, people really do start to get it, and people go, wow, I can actually follow a moral philosophy where I don't have to say, well, I'm against the demilitarization of the police, but, whenever that but kicks in, just stop it, just say, no, it's wrong to murder people, so, let's stop doing that on a grand scale.
Yeah,
I'm
all for privatizing the tollway, but not the school. No. And it just
it reminds me of a line from all movies, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Everybody's got a big butt.
And And so just, from my end, I probably need to wrap up, but, Pork Fest is great, and that's in the summer, and everyone come for that, but also check out Liberty Forum. The URL for that is nhlibertyforum.com. We do still have tickets for sale. I think the hotel might actually be sold out, but...
Now, when is that again?
That'll be March 5th through the 8th.
Time's running out, kids.
Yep. And, Scott Horton from antiwar.com is excited about him. And, we'd love to see you guys, and we would love to see some of your listeners out, and come check us out.
Now, if anybody wants more information on the Free State Project, where can they go for that?
More information about Free State Project is freestateproject.org. I saw there was a question here about how many people have moved, how many have pledged. So about 82% of the 20,000 have pledged, so I think we're at 16,500. And we have more than 10% have already moved, although no one is obligated to move until we reach the 20,000 mark. But basically it's going to happen. It's really just a question of time at this stage. We won't get the full 20,000 who will move, but we've crunched some numbers, and we think if between 4,000 and 5,000 do move, and and obviously we want everyone to move, because the more of us are here, the more stuff faster we can get everything done. But I think even just with the 1,700 movers, we keep moving Liberty in New Hampshire in the right direction, and also it's a lot of fun.
And Cindy, one thing that occurred to me is that even if you don't get the 20,000, the people who do move there for the Free State Project, they're not going to be the type of people who just vote Libertarian. They're going to be the type of people who are activists. So even if you just get 4,000 or 5,000, they're going to be able to make a tremendous impact.
Absolutely, I agree fully with that.
Oh, by the way, like you've been calling her Cindy, her name is Carla.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I tell you what, I listened to the Cindy Sheehan, the episode where we talked about Cindy Sheehan yesterday, so I got a mental block. So sorry about that,
No,
Carla.
I'm sorry.
Nevertheless, I listened to the
No. I heard you. I'm just sorry that you listened to the Cindy Sheehan episode.
Where we talked about her negatively. I mean, we agree with her anti-war stance, but I know she's a socialist, so we don't.
Yeah, she's pretty much everything opposite. Although I have said in the past, this last year, when you're talking about socialists, I mean, you can't really get more socialist than the Green Party. But with all of the hoops that they've had to go through to get on the ballot here in Illinois, just like the Libertarian Party, I will vote for them over anyone else if my guy's not on the ballot, just because as they illustrated on South Park, the only choices we have in Illinois are a turd sandwich and a giant douche. Right. So.
But yeah, Cindy Sheehan, she is anti-war. She's great for that. But yeah, that's it. I think she's good on civil liberties too, but she's definitely not with us economically.
So just to wrap up here. Once again, welcome to anybody who came over here from the No Quarter podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can get our show. We're in the iTunes store. We are on LRN.FM in the podcast loop. Couldn't really tell you exactly what time because it varies, because not every podcast is the same length, so it varies. We are on the Stitcher app on your smartphone. We are now on the TuneIn app. On your smartphone. You can also go to Stitcher or TuneIn's websites. If you want to hear the show live, we are live every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on Radio Fubar. And you can circle us on Google Plus or friend us on Facebook to get links to the video portion of the show. There is a replay of this show every Sunday at noon. Once again, normal Central Standard Time on Touhyville at touhyville.com. That's TOUHYVILLE.com. And once again, I want to give a shout out to the band Springtide for letting us use their song Springtide for our new intro and outro music. You can visit their website at www.springtide.jp. They are a Japanese group, but I don't care where you're from. Their music is really good, and check them out and maybe throw a few bucks their way. And there you go. So once again, thank you, Carla, for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Carla. Not Cindy, Carla.
Carla?
Thanks for having me, guys.
And thanks for my co-hosts Eric and Lek for joining us once again. And there you go. So we will see you all next week. And remember, in 2 weeks, we're going to have a big, probably the biggest guest we've ever had on the show. And there you go. So see you, everyone.
Yeah.
Well, outro music is the song Springtide.